Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I'm gonna try to keep it within the realm of possibility insofar as suggestions that are easy to implement. So with that being said, I'm going to focus on simple changes to maps that could fix big problems and just make them more enjoyable to play. Last year I did a couple videos on Ruins of Sarnath, going through two separate versions of the map, each with a number of complex redesigns that would change the way the map is played. But that's not the aim for this video. In this one, I'll be suggesting minor changes and discussing how these small tweaks could have big impacts. Koth's rocket launcher teleporter is accessible by dropping down from behind this ramp. There's nothing back here except for an opening for players to walk off of. And something that the tower room is in dire need of is another 25 health pack. So putting it behind this ramp, just above the rocket launcher teleporter, would actually give players a reason to venture back here. Once they do, they have the option of simply dropping down to the teleporter's rear entrance with a certain level of risk. And it's this rear entrance to the rocket launcher teleporter that brings us to the next change, and let me explain. Teleporters that transport players longer distances, like to the other end of a map, are few and far between, and for good reason. Off the top of my head, the only other ones I can think of in the rotation are Bloodrun's rocket launcher telly, and to a lesser extent, Exile's Abyss telly. Bloodrun's in particular is a problem because it has no risk attached to it. In fact, the opposite. Players can simply chill in the blood pool, regenerating their health until it's time to go. So maybe that's what it needs, some kind of pit or hazard or even a barrier around the telly, and players have to shoot a switch to access it, something like that. Exiles at least carries the risk of falling to your death, and so does this rear rocket launcher telly on Tower of Koth. So if this rear teleporter's destination were changed to take players clear across the map to the lightning gun, it would actually carry with it a risk at both ends, safely getting to and arriving at the destination, as players can be forced into a pit on both sides. But why this change? In the Ruins of Sarnath videos, I mentioned the issue of players having to make too many hard stops to get from one item to another. This version of Koth doesn't have as many hard stops as its larger sibling, due to the teleporter at heavy armor alleviating that problem on this side of the map. However, in other rooms, the issue persists, and players have to make a number of sharp course corrections to get around the map, rather than intuitively flowing through it. So how exactly would this change affect Tower of Koth's flow? Well, it's hard to say. Players have never really had a reason to access this side of the rocket launcher telly, but in any event, it is a change that would add greater flow as well as an additional layer of complexity to a map that has a tendency to snowball in favor of one side over the other. Speaking of Bloodrun, I described the concept of kiting vortexes in the Ruins of Sarnath videos, and how they are the kiss of death when it comes to making a map fair and balanced. So to restate, one is bad, and two or more all but ruins a map. No pun. Of all the maps in the rotation, Bloodrun is by far the biggest offender. That being said, there is one small change that would instantly fix the most abused vortex. That one, of course, being the blood pool and teleporter hidden away beneath the heavy armor. The fact that a player can just sit in the pool, hiding in a dead end that is completely protected from all but one angle with an instant escape is a problem. However, if that dead end was removed and the blood pool and teleporter were simply relocated a couple meters forward at the end of the hallway, it would be one huge step towards bringing the map back into balance, as players would be more vulnerable to damage from the heavy armor room. Players would have one less vortex on the map to abuse, and could get back to just focusing on hitting shots, timing items, staying one step ahead of the opponent, like a normal map, instead of just running away for minutes on end. When Insomnia was a new map, I made a video about its layout, but focused the conversation on what justifies the presence of a railgun, making the argument that less is more. If you look at Insomnia's size and the central location of the tribolt, you'll notice that there are a number of angles that the tribolt is in prime position to hit. In fact, 3 of Insomnia's 4 rooms are sized to accommodate the range of the tribolt. Due to its layout, a majority of fights occur when players are at mid-range with each other. That often means we assume rocket launcher and lightning gun equals win. But what if a player only has rocket launcher and tribolt, or lightning gun and tribolt? You know, there's something incredibly appealing about the idea of a map's design adding emphasis on using the tribolt effectively. And that's something that Insomnia is capable of pulling off. So, if we remove the railgun, how best to accommodate this change? Well, I have a couple thoughts. First, how's about making Insomnia a 3 green armor map by adding the 3rd green armor in the center of the heavy machine gun room, then replacing the railgun with a 2nd rocket launcher. For 2 versus 2, we'd simply move the power-up respawn to the middle of the blood pool. This way, it is equally situated between the Mega Health and heavy machine gun rooms, and highly vulnerable in this tight corridor, as both sides would have access to a rocket launcher. Without the railgun, we can now open up the map just a bit more to achieve an optimal balance and flow. So as our final change, let's extend the opening between the heavy machine gun and heavy armor rooms to allow for more exchange of machine gun and tribolt. By changing the flow of a map and adding emphasis on using other weapons, we're also changing which champions are likely to be more favorable picks. For example, on Corrupted Keep, BJ, Galena, Strahd, Ranger, and Anarchy are some of the most common champion choices, and this is partly because of the absence of a railgun. But imagine how a railgun on Corrupted Keep would change how it's played, and the champions that players would favor as a result. You'd see a lot more Visor and Nyx picks. Right now, Insomnia is stuck in a kind of milquetoast state of one side getting rail and heavy armor, and the other side getting rocket launcher and mega health. These changes would put more emphasis on players needing to get around the map, deny items, use well-placed rockets, tribolts, and nail gun spam, and, most importantly, mix up the preferred champion picks now that certain plays and active abilities would be more feasible without the presence of a railgun. So there you have it. These modified map versions would go a long ways toward reducing player dread the next time you queue ranked and are stuck with choosing between Koth, Bloodrun, and Insomnia. My only other wish for Quake Champions in 2025 is to see what Sync Error is cooking up for the dual version of Lockbox. When we have access to a preliminary build on that, I'll be happy to explore it with you guys and give progress updates. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Oh, and before I forget, the damage reductions can stay, but for God's sake, just give Scalebearer his speed back.